Hello guys, welcome back to my channel and enjoy this fanfic part 1. Now let's start the fanfic. Sakura Haruno had never pictured herself in this type of situation. In all of her years as a ninja, she thought there was a higher chance of dying. But there she was, sitting on her bed, waiting for Ino's reaction to this shocking secret. "You're pregnant," Ino repeated more to herself than to Sakura it seemed. The pink-haired kunoichi's hands held tightly onto her sheets, nerves getting the better of the situation. Hearing those words from someone else made it all seem too real. There was something growing inside of her, and that something that would eventually become a living human being. It would walk and talk, smile and laugh, scream and cry. They would have a name, hopes, fears, and Sakura, calm down, you're starting to hyperventilate. She felt Ino's hand rub her back in slow soothing circles, relaxing her. Sakura began to laugh, though her tears were still fresh and running. "Ino, I'm going to have a baby." Sakura leaned her head onto her friend's shoulder, a feeling of complete helplessness sinking into her. "I know." Ino struggled with her next words, but she took a deep breath and looked to Sakura, who's the father. Sakura knew this was coming. The obvious question linked hand in hand with her secret. Naruto's face came into her mind. It was such a clear and vivid image. His golden hair shooting up in every direction, his golden skin, fox-like whisker marks that seemed to be his trademark next to his toothy grin, of course. And those eyes. Sakura would never, in all the rest of her life, forget those eyes. They were the clearest blue, rivaling that of the afternoon sky. "I'm not ready. At least tell me one thing about him." Ino was being persistent, but Sakura didn't know what to say. Any characteristic of Naruto would give him away, especially if she told the infamous Ino, the cataloger of all men in Konoha. With just a few details, she could say if the man was single, who he slept or had slept with, and where he lived. "What do you want me to say, Ino?" The blonde paused for a moment and her hand slowed in its calming massage on Sakura's back. She smirked. Was the fantastic? Sakura was stunned only for a moment, her mind shocked blank. Then, ever so slowly, a small smile appeared on the kunoichi's face and Sakura laughed. Ino started to giggle along, and soon they were gasping for air, holding onto each other for support. Tears streamed down both of their faces, a mixture of sorrow and anxiety. "So what are you going to do?" Ino sat at the kitchen table as Sakura began bustling around her cupboards. Sakura needed to keep her mind busy, so she opted for making tea for the two of them. Her mind raced through all of the options, and none of them seemed even slightly sympathetic to her. She would have to eventually tell everyone that she was pregnant. Her growing body would be proof of that alone. But what was going to happen when people began to ask the same question that came from Ino, who's the father? What about Naruto? He didn't even remember that they had. Would he believe that she was pregnant? That the baby was his? What about work? What would she do when she was incapable of going on missions or even performing the simplest of surgeries because of her physical state? Tsunade was going to kill her. People in the town were going to spread rumors, wondering why she wasn't with the father. "Sakura." Ino's voice brought her back down to earth. "I know what you're thinking, and you need to calm down and take a deep breath. Just figure out what you're going to do first." "What am I supposed to do?" Ino ed an eyebrow, and snorted. "Well, aren't you Konoha's #1 medic nin? Shouldn't you already know the answer to that question?" Sakura sighed. Ino was completely right. If anything, Sakura could look at this like the medic nin she was. She was pregnant, so like any patient of hers she would recommend prenatal vitamins, exercise, a constant good night's sleep, and no alcohol or tobacco. Okay. There it was. Her first few steps. How am I supposed to get the prenatal vitamins I need? Well, not all prenatal vitamins are prescription, billboard brow. We can go get some from the market, and I'll just say they're for me when Shika and I decide to have a baby. Sakura put her cup of tea down and took hold of Ino's hand, squeezing it gently. "What would I do without you, Ino pig?" The Pig rolled her eyes. Of course you would suffer a horrible death. I am your savior, billboard brow. Do not forget that. Ino smiled haughtily but squeezed Sakura's hand back. At least for the moment, Sakura felt like there was hope even if it was minuscule, it was still there, thanks to Ino. Good morning, Miss Yamanaka, Miss Haruno. The local market owner greeted the two as they walked through the entrance. Sakura looked to Ino, her hands slightly shaking. Ino smiled, reassuring her pink-haired friend and then turned to the older man. Good morning, Hokkaido-san. Where do you stock your prenatal vitamins? Oh, they're in the back. Jiro Hokkaido, a man 20 years their senior, was the village market owner. To the benefit of the women, he never gave much attention to what items one bought, unlike so many of the gossiping shop owners in Konoha. Ino and Sakura took their steps carefully back towards the vitamins, wanting to draw as little attention as possible. The shopkeeper might have tight lips, but the same didn't go for the customers. Sakura could feel her heart quicken as they stepped closer to the aisle. Here, Ino gently led her to stand in front of a row of the vitamins, and Sakura's eyes scanned them all, her nerves calming. Hermetic nin state of mind was taking over. There were quite a few that would suit, but some had too high of an iron count or vitamin A, and that wouldn't be helpful. She would need the type that would give an extra boost of calcium along with her other needed vitamins. Finally, the kunoichi picked a brand and handed it to Ino. Here you go. This should fit with your needs. Ino and Sakura had rehearsed their lines to perfection, because Kami knew that there would be eavesdroppers. Good. Ino and Sakura made their way up to the register and paid for the item. It was going flawlessly, no one had stopped them or from the looks of it, had paid too much attention to them. Sakura took the vitamins from the cashier, wrapped the purchase and handed it to Ino. The blonde promptly put the item into her purse. Let's go, billboard brow. I want to get something to eat. The two girls then stepped out of the market and it was like someone lifted 2 tons of weight off of Sakura's shoulders. She felt relieved. Kami, there wasn't a word strong enough to describe the relief that stilled Sakura's heart and mind. So, Ino looked to Sakura, the feeling of success evident in her eyes as well. Where did you want to eat, billboard ow? Someone pushed past Ino, knocking her into Sakura. Thankfully, they caught themselves before any more attention could be brought upon them. You stupid son of a shika. Ino's cheeks turned a bright tomato red as her fiancé stood a few feet from her, an apologetic look on his face. The blood in Sakura's face drained as she painfully stood behind, the invisible weight dropping right back down onto her shoulders. Ino, Shikamaru sounded surprised. Not a good sign. What are you doing here? I thought you would still be in bed with a hangover. Sakura could tell the genius was breaking down every possible detail around him, figuring out just what was going on. He would most likely give a correct assumption if Ino didn't distract him. I couldn't drink, the blonde lied smoothly. I was thinking about your bachelor party, wondering what woman was sticking their disgusting hands all over you. Sakura almost snorted with laughter. Ino was confident that Shika would never think about another woman the rest of his life with her beside him. Mostly due to threats towards all the females that inhabited Konoha. The poor shinobi would never be approached by another woman the rest of his life. Ah, well, the lazy genius rubbed the back of his head. Other women are just too troublesome. And Sakura could see the slightest hint of a blush appear on the man's face. He was truly sweet, in his own unconventional way. Shikamaru. Ino took hold of Shika's hand and a smile crept onto the kunoichi's face. Oh no, Sakura was going to have to step in, otherwise this would lead to a romp. It had happened before, and it would happen again. No one could forget that night 1 month ago when they were going at it in the middle of the local pub. It still brought chills to all who were there. Ino, we should get going. Oh, yes, we should. And then Shikamaru's attention shifted to Sakura. The kunoichi smiled, nodding in polite salutation, but her conscience screamed obscenities for placing the unwanted spotlight onto her. Sakura, I haven't seen you in a while. You look different. The genius. Keen eyes sharpened suddenly. Hey, Sakura. Shit. Well, Shika, we have to get going. See you later. Bye. Ino took Sakura's hand and yanked her away, in a not so subtle exit. Did you see his face back there? Sakura sat at a table inside of a restaurant, ignoring the menu laid out in front of her. Oh, Kami. Ino growled. He was doing his genius figure out every damn thing so that I know what the S going magic. Oh, thank you. The waitress brought them their cups of water, and paused. Are you ready to? No. The women replied in unison. The waitress rolled her eyes and walked away. Who cared what she thought? Sakura had more important things to think about at the moment. I just might be screwed, Ino. You just might be right, billboard brow. Ino put her menu down. Damn it. We were so close. So close. He'll know, without a doubt. Sakura covered her face with her hands. She was screwed. The somewhat formulated plan of telling people herself about being pregnant just collapsed before her like a house of cards. Now that Shikamaru knew, oh, the people he could tell. Wait. This might be good. Ino gripped one of Sakura's arms tightly. This just might work in our favor, billboard brow. What are you talking about, pig? Sakura slowly sipped the cool water from the cup placed in front of her. Shikamaru might know that you're pregnant, but he doesn't know who the father is. Ino's face slightly twisted in annoyance, just like me. Sakura sighed. Ino, Sakura-chan. Sakura choked on her water and began to cough loudly, her face turning a bright red. Ino looked at her for merely a moment, a dazed look on her face. Then suddenly, no-ing, Ino clamped her mouth shut, though her eyes were still as wide as saucers. Ino tossed Sakura a napkin and moved to sit right beside the coughing Kunoichi. Ino gripped a handful of Sakura's shirt, yanking on it. You have some explaining to do, Haruno. She whispered right into the Kunoichi's ear, but Sakura was more preoccupied with someone else at the moment and chose to ignore the pale blonde's words. For now. The Uzumaki came in and paused at the entrance. Sakura noted that the shinobi had the dagger Tama had given him during their mission strapped to his belt. It reminded her of the amulet she received and the coin their other teammate had gotten. And almost immediately, like a cruel joke, Sasuke walked in, followed by Choji, Kiba, Hinata, and Shikamaru. If it were humanly possible, Sakura's face turned a paler shade of white. This was not going to be her day. Sakura-chan. Naruto sat down across from her at their table while the rest followed suit, sitting in their own spots. Shikamaru took a spot next to Ino, his eyes locking onto his fiancé's. The pink-haired woman could only imagine what was wordlessly passing between the two at that moment. Man, I'm hungry. I haven't eaten in 2 whole hours. Choji sat down at the table, grabbing one of the menus, his eyes scanning its contents. Waitress. Here, Hinata. Let me get that chair for you. Kiba pulled back one of the chairs for his very pregnant wife and Hinata blushed, nodding in thanks as she sat down. Nay, Sakura-chan, what's wrong? You look like you ate a bad bowl of ramen. Oh, I've had those pains before, Choji chuckled. Oh, and nothing, Naruto. The pink-haired woman mumbled, I'm perfectly fine. Really? Sasuke smirked, taking a seat next to his orange-clad teammate. He seemed to be enjoying her small panic attack. You do seem a bit odd. Sakura's eye twitched in annoyance. Her infamous anger was triggered. It's none of your business, Sasuke. She grabbed her cup of water and downed the rest of its contents. Stupid Sasuke's damned intuitiveness was not helping the situation. Sakura would need to keep her wits about her. Never mind that Naruto sat 2 feet from her, oblivious to damn near anything. Or that Shikamaru might have told all of these people of his suspicions. There was no way in hell she was going to let anyone find out. The Uchiha ed an eyebrow, clearly not convinced. I need to go freshen up. Ino stood up and looked to her side. Sakura. Her eyes glinted with her hidden words. You are coming with me right now whether you like it or not. The Kunoichi stood up and followed her friend, wondering what she was going to do, or how she was going to explain anything. I can't believe it. Ino laughed so loud, Sakura was sure that they could be heard. Ino, keep your voice down. I can't. Ino chuckled, but lowered her voice as asked, I can't believe you did it with that idiot. You really? She gasped for air between her muffled laughs. He's father. He's the fath. Sakura clamped her hand over Ino's mouth. Keep your voice down, pig. I don't want anyone to. Damn it. Sakura could feel her eyes stinging and her voice going hoarse. She was about to cry. MPHRHPHM. Ino moved the kunoichi's hand away and clarified herself. Sakura, I have two things to tell you. One of them you might not like, well, you might not want to hear either, but that's beside the point. You need to tell him. And second, what made you change your mind on guarding your precious flower? Sakura was distraught. Ino was already knee-deep, so she might as well dive the rest of the way into this ocean of madness. So the kunoichi began to tell the blonde what happened that night, starting with the gypsy and ending with Naruto's mental lapse of their time together. She told her story. And through it all, Ino said not one word, though her facial expressions compensated well enough. Her anger was evident by the end. I'm gonna kill him. Simple as that. I'll rip his off and toss it to Akamaru to chew on. Ino glared through the bathroom door, towards the unsuspecting shinobi. Sakura wouldn't put it past her to follow through with that threat. Ino, please, it's already hard enough for me to tell you this, and it was. It took Sakura all of her strength to tell Ino about Naruto, but in a strange way, she felt better. Now that the pig knew about Naruto, she could help Sakura avoid. Avoid. Was that what she wanted? To completely ignore the Uzumaki? Sakura ran shaking fingers through her pink tresses. This was all too much, too fast. We need to get out of here, billboard brow. But I'll only tell you this one more time. You need to sit that idiot down and tell him what's going on before he hears it from someone else. You won't. No. Ino shook her head. I would never do that to you. As much as you piss me off sometimes, you are still my best friend. But think this through, billboard brow. You're going to be growing, and people will question you, and if you don't answer, rumors will spread. They'll look to the men closest to you, Sasuke, Kakashi, Naruto. It's going to be messy either way, but Sakura never thought about it that way, and her heart dropped. I have to tell him, don't I? Ino didn't reply, because she didn't need to. There was no other way around it. Sakura was going to have to tell Naruto that they were going to have a baby. But first she needed to convince him that they had. Sakura, what is it, Ino? Do you love him? There was that question again. One that not only her friends asked her, but it was the very same question that raging conscience within the pink kunoichi screamed almost every day. Damn it. Answer me. Sakura didn't know how to answer herself. Did she? The gypsy Tama said that the fruit she consumed revealed her true feelings. Did that mean she loved Naruto, or was only Yu Ally attracted to him? She couldn't deny the physical attraction that she had towards the blonde shinobi anymore, that much was obvious. But did her affection run deeper than mere physicality? The only thing she had to compare this confusing feeling towards Naruto was her long-time crush on Sasuke. But there was just an infinite amount of differences between those situations. When Sakura was crazy over the Uchiha, she swore to anyone who would listen that it was love. But in retrospect, all it seemed to be was an obsession, like he was some toy she could never get her hands on. The pink-haired woman felt ashamed after all her wasted years, pining over a man who would never love anyone. He was cold, distant, and spiteful towards her. Then there was Naruto. Sakura had never been treated so well by a boy before. She never knew what to make of him. As a young ninja, he would constantly talk to her, interrupting the kunoichi's Sasuke-themed fantasies, so she dubbed him as loud and annoying. Despite her show of anger towards the blonde boy, he never snapped at her. Naruto always had a smile just for her and an offer for ramen at Ichiraku. He saved her life so many times that Sakura had lost count by now. Whenever they were together, it seemed natural and just right. Where Sasuke had burned a hole into her heart, Naruto filled her aching need to be loved. There should be no question about her feelings toward the man, but maybe the real question you should be asking is if I'm ready to fall in love. Sakura's voice was hoarse as she looked to Ino, her tears drying up. The blonde Kunoichi laughed. Billboard brow, I can tell you from personal experience that love doesn't give a flying if you're ready or not. There was a knock on the bathroom door. Sakura-kun. Ino-kun. Are you guys alright in there? Whoops. They took too long. Yeah, we'll be right out, Hinata. Ino fixed up her hair and makeup, and looked to Sakura. You'd better wash that face of yours. You look like shit. Sakura growled back at her, but laughed anxiously. Sakura would have to tell him, as simple as that. She might not understand her feelings completely, but she owed it to Naruto to tell him what was going on. Sakura, open up, it's Ino. Okay. She chickened out. It's been 4 weeks since she told her friend Ino about her pregnancy, and she avoided Naruto like the plague. Every time he would come by the hospital, she would grab some paperwork and run off, saying she was too busy to talk. Lies, lies, lies. And on several occasions, he came to her house demanding to know what he did to make her mad at him. But she never answered her door, too terrified to tell him what was really wrong with her. Now it was the day before Ino's wedding, and here she was, sitting on her couch, feasting on mint chocolate chip ice cream with jelly. The Kunoichi got up and opened the door, a sheepish look on her face. Hi, Ino. How's it? Don't give me that bull crap of a greeting, Billboard. What the hell is going through your mind? Do you know I'm getting married tomorrow? The blonde carried in a big box into the apartment and dropped it onto the floor, and a certain pink-haired friend of mine didn't even show up for the fitting. You are so lucky I know your size, Billboard brow. Ino growled, kneeling down beside the box and promptly opened it. She reached inside and pulled out a deep crimson dress. Since you, Sakura, owe me, Ino, big time, you shall abide by my rules. I am, after all, the bride, and you are my maid of honor. Sakura nodded. God, your cravings are disgusting. Throw that ice cream away. The pink-haired Kunoichi complied. Ino was serious, and there was no way Sakura was going to piss her off a day before the ceremony. Rule number 1. You are to wear this tomorrow. Ino handed Sakura the dress. 2. I will be doing your makeup, no questions asked. Rule number 3. You will dance, you will laugh, and you will have fun. I will not have my maid of honor acting gloomy on the most important day of my life. Do you understand? Yes, Ino. Sakura rubbed her stomach and looked at the dress. I'm going to look so ugly. Well, next to me, of course. Ino laughed, but stopped once she saw the Kunoichi sadden. Sakura, you will be perfectly fine. I am doing your makeup. Therefore, when I am done with you, you'll look like a total goddess. I would have nothing less at my own wedding. Sakura didn't reply. Have you been taking your vitamins? Ino took the red dress from Sakura and wrapped it in its plastic cover. Yes. Eating right. The blonde noted the strange food concoction she had her toss, and a blush came over the pink-haired woman. Well, for the most part, yes. Have you been getting enough sleep? Sakura coughed. Yes. Real answer. Not at all. Her nightmares have gotten worse over the past month, each one more gruesome and bloody. She would wake up drenched in sweat, wondering why the hell those stupid sprigs of thyme and rock of amethyst weren't working. She even wore the green amulet Tama gave her. It was small and subtle, but the gypsy said it was for protection. Sakura had hoped it would protect her from the dreams, but they came every night like clockwork. It seemed as if nothing was going to rid her of those horrible images. Well, maybe you should go to sleep now, just in case. Oh, and use these. Ino tossed her a bag of skin creams. They'll get rid of those bags under your eyes. Thanks. The Kunoichi retorted. Whatever, Billboard. There will be pictures, and I will not have you looking like a zombie. Now go to bed and get some sleep. You're going to need it. Alright, Ino pig, I'll go to sleep. Now you go. Shouldn't you get some sleep too? Ino paused at the door and looked back to Sakura. Have you told him yet? Sakura picked up the ridiculously big bag of cosmetic creams, number. Ino sighed. All right, billboard. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Do not be late. I'm not like my sensei, pig. I'll be early. As soon as she closed the door, Sakura felt exhaustion consume her. Going to sleep really sounded like a good idea, despite how early in the evening it was. As soon as the kunoichi's head hit the pillow, she was out like a light. Sakura, there's no need to play this game. All you need to do is give us what we want. The medic nin was crouched low in a cold, dark room. The voice came from all around her, so she wasn't able to pinpoint their position to attack. Nevertheless, her grip tightened around her kunai, her muscles coiled to spring at any given moment. She would not let them win. She would never give them what they wanted. It was her reason for living now, the motivation to keep moving, keep breathing, even with the numerous wounds on her body. She would not give up. Then she sensed it behind her. Sakura whipped around, reaching to her most precious object before they got to it. Too late. Mama. That voice called out, stirring her. Her blood boiled and she thrashed at the empty air, and a low chuckle rumbled through her very bones. You should have given us what we wanted while you still had the chance. Now we'll kill the both of you. Sakura's heart clenched. No. Sakura shot up in her bed, gasping for air. Her dreams have taken a new turn. They not only surrounded her death, but her unborn child's as well. Ino, you put too much makeup on me. No, I didn't billboard, you look fine. Now shut up and help me get through this damn door. That next morning, after a rather unpleasant episode of Sakura getting painted with Kami knows what on her face, Ino, Sakura, Tenten, Hinata, and Temari got dressed in their outfits for the ceremony. They were supposed to leave that minute, but it seemed Ino was having some trouble with her princess-cut dress. The gown had a very puffy skirt, no straps, long train. And it was perfect for Ino. Now only if Sakura could help her get through the damn door. 10-10, push down the right side, and I'll get the left. Temari, pick up her train so that it doesn't get dirty or trampled on. Hinata, you go get her veil and bouquet. Yes sir. 10-10 joked and the other girls laughed. They all did what they were asked and somehow, they got Ino out of the apartment and to the chapel where they were holding the ceremony. Everything was going smoothly until, oh Kami, Ino screamed at the top of her lungs, making the three bridesmaids and the maid of honor jump. What's wrong, Ino? 10-10 scanned the bride, looking for injuries. I forgot my garter. I need my garter. Otherwise what is Shika going to do when he has to take it from my leg? Isn't that the lacy thing he pulls off with his teeth? Temari smirked. His teeth. Hinata blushed furiously. Her wedding was more of an Eastern-style wedding, whilst Ino wanted hers to be Western. Sakura could only imagine the embarrassment Hinata would have had to endure if Kiba had to pull a garter off of her leg using only his teeth. Yes. And I had it with me. I think I left it back in the dressing room. Sakura, could you go and get it? Okay. Sakura brushed a strand of her pink hair back into place and made her way back to the dressing rooms. Thankfully she knew where Ino had left the garter, right on top of the vanity next to her enormous box of makeup. The kunoichi snatched the garment and made her way back to the entrance of the chapel. She almost reached the room when, suddenly she felt a pair of hands wrap around her and pull her into a dark room. The mysterious figure pushed her up against a wall, pressing onto her arms as they leaned over her. Sakura began to build chakra in her hands, ready to knock this person into the next room. This was no, the kunoichi gasped. That smoky masculine scent, she could never forget that smell. Naruto. Sakura's heart raced. She could feel a deep blush coming over her cheeks. What are you doing, Baka? Sakura-chan, I'm sorry for doing this, but you've been avoiding me for over a month. This was the only way to get you to talk to me. His breath was warm on the nape of Sakura's neck. He was so close he must be able to tell how hard her pulse was pounding. Sakura pushed against his hold, but he held strong. The kunoichi couldn't find the will in her to use her chakra against him, so she remained in his clutches. Naruto, this was insane. She couldn't talk to him here. Not now. Sakura-chan, just please tell me what I did to you. I can't stand having you mad at me. His head lowered to rest on the kunoichi's shoulders and his hands dropped down her arms, gently caressing her. Just, please, tell me what I did. His gesture was completely innocent, something he most likely thought of as nothing, yet for Sakura, it almost drove her over the edge. She felt a cool shiver run down her spine at his slight touch. The tortured woman bit her lip, preventing a moan escaping from her mouth. Naruto, she couldn't believe herself, she was actually through with it. The things this man could make her do. Do you remember that mission we had not too long ago? The Uzumaki's head lifted slightly, when we escorted Tama-chan to the port. Hi, I remember. Sakura took a deep breath, wondering how she could explain this to him, that first night, after Sasuke. I really don't want to remember that, Sakura-chan. After that, baka. When, the kunoichi took a deep breath, when we slept in the same tent. Sakura's body felt so warm with his body radiating heat onto her. Every inch of her skin was itching to touch him once more, to feel his taut body below her fingers. What had Naruto done to her? Naruto shifted slightly and stepped away from her, and through the dark Sakura could see him rub the back of his head. Why yeah. I remember that. Her heart felt like a hammer, it was pounding so strongly, and, that night. After we went to sleep, do you? Sakura. Tenten's voice was not far off as she called to the kunoichi, Sakura. Where are you? Ino's starting to worry. Tenten was most likely under-exaggerating. The blonde bride was probably strangling a nearby guest out of impatience and anger. Sakura sighed and looked to Naruto. This was obviously not going to be the day she told him. I'll leave first. You go later. She mumbled and began to walk out until she felt a gentle but firm grip on her wrist. Sakura, are you still mad at me? His voice was low, so that the approaching woman couldn't hear them through the door. Sakura shook her head. No. As much as I want to be, I could never stay mad at you for long, it was all too true. The kunoichi then slipped out of Naruto's grip and walked out of the dark room. Tenten, I'm here. I found the garter. Sakura, get your over here. Ino whispered harshly, and the kunoichi immediately walked over. What is it, pig? You told him, didn't you? The blonde had taken off her massive veil and had it tossed aside for the massive reception they were holding at Konoha's public park. The ceremony had gone without a hitch, although Ino's vows were a bit unconventional. Shika, from the moment I first met you, I thought you were the laziest ninja in this kami-forsaken village. But throughout the years, whenever in battle, you gave it your all, just to protect your team. And when you finally stopped thinking of me as troublesome. Stopped. Ow. Shika shook out his bruised fingers and tentatively took hold of Ino's hand once again. Sorry. When you stopped thinking of me as troublesome and asked me out that first night together was absolutely amazing. Oh, Kami. The things a genius could. Sakura didn't want to remember past that point. It only got worse. Answer me, billboard brow. You told him, right? No. I almost did, but no. Are you sure? Ino looked to where Naruto was standing, munching on the food at the buffet table with Choji. He's been looking at you the entire day, like he's been thinking. Naruto never looks like he's concentrating. Ino. Sakura growled. Contrary to that stupid pig's assumption, Naruto was actually quite intelligent, but sometimes he acted like a 10-year-old. Look, maybe he actually does remember that night. Maybe he just thinks that you don't remember it. That's stupid. Oh come on, billboard brow. Just tell him, for Kami's sake. Make it my wedding gift. I already bought you a wedding gift, pig. Ino's eyes sparkled with interest. Really? What did you get me? You damn well know what I got you. You gave a list to each of us, demanding that we buy you the item written on there, or we were not allowed to show our faces at the wedding. Sakura rolled her eyes in annoyance. She remembered having to go purchase that dinnerware set from the most expensive Chinaware store in the village. It cost the medic nin nearly more than half her paycheck. Ino giggled lightly and wrapped Sakura in a tight embrace. I know about that, Sakura, but I really just want you to be happy. And I want you to tell that baka that you are preg shit. What? Pregnant? Sakura's heart dropped. This was impossible. If only Ino kept her mouth shut. The kunoichi turned around, a smile failing to reach her eyes. Ahaya gozaimasu, Tsunade Shiso. Sakura, I am only going to ask you this once. Tsunade's eyes sharpened intensely, her voice lowering so that no one around them could hear. Are you pregnant? Sakura nodded the slightest bit, so that it wasn't as noticeable to people around them. She kept eye contact with the Hokage, but could feel her stomach twisting in knots. Tsunade just might kill her. Right here, during the reception, in front of all these people. Come here. Shiso took Sakura by her hand and led her away from the party, and Ino followed. Stay there, Yamanaka. What? But Godime-sama, I said stay there or I'll annul your wedding vows. Ino froze and Shiso pulled Sakura away, passing numerous amounts of trees, until they were far enough from the celebration so that the noise was just a soft buzz. Do you know what you've done? Tsunade Shiso. Sakura, if I heard correctly, and since I'm on the damned sober train, I'm pretty sure I did. You're pregnant with Uzumaki Naruto's child. Tsunade was livid, her face paling in anger. Whether it was from being sober for the ceremony or from Sakura's actions, the kunoichi couldn't tell. Why yes, Shiso, but... Sakura, do you understand that Naruto is a Jinchuriki? Of course I do, but what does that have to do? No one understands the bijou completely, Sakura. Tsunade led the kunoichi to sit down on the massive staircase that made the park so well known. We still do not know what would happen if a bijou vessel were to have children or if their chakra is passed on through you to the unborn. She was insane, that was the only explanation Sakura could think of. Shiso was saying that because Naruto had the Kyuubi in him, so would her child. It sounded ridiculous, absolutely stupid. Shiso, please forgive me for saying this, but you're wrong. Don't you think I would feel someone else's power in my chakra? Especially power from the Kyuubi no Yoko. Sakura stood up and looked down to her very faintly protruding abdomen. Thankfully it was only the 7th week of her pregnancy and the fetus was barely larger than the size of a grape, and placed her palm against it. I know this sounds silly, but deep down I know that this boy or girl who's growing inside of me. She couldn't finish her words. Sakura, the Godime stood. I'm sorry I was rude, but you have to understand my position here. If you were to give birth to a child of a Jinchuriki, one that didn't have the proper seals on them, it might be the loophole that Kitsune needs to be released from his prison. Tsunade Shiso paused and sighed, her frustration clearly fading, but you're right. It was wrong of me to jump the gun in thinking you could not sense the demon power in your own body. Are you sure you can't sense anything? Sakura nodded. Her chakra was normal. There was no possibility that the Kyuubi's chakra was in her. But hear me on this, and you know that I'm right. If word gets out about Naruto having a child, it is just the bait someone needs to bring him to his knees. They can threaten him with slaughtering his family now. Tsunade shook her head and tried to smile lightly, but, I suppose I should congratulate you two at the very least. Where was that boy the last time I saw him? Probably competing with Choji at the buffet. No. Shiso. Sakura sat at a large table with Tsunade Shiso, Shizune, Hinata, and Kiba and watched apprehensively as her teacher drank cup after cup of sake. Was she going to say anything to her about Naruto? After that much alcohol intake, would she even remember the wedding ceremony itself? Sakura-chan. The pink-haired woman looked up to find an anxious-looking Naruto desperately trying to fix his tie. Sakura rolled her eyes and stood, batting the shinobi's hands away and straightening the red tie. I'm surprised you didn't wear your clothes backwards, Naruto. Her eyes remained downcast as nimble fingers strayed to fix his collar and jacket. It was unusual for him to not wear something oranger in the jumpsuit range. But Ino would have none of that at her own wedding. All of the groomsmen were to wear scarlet-colored ties, and the bridesmaids were to wear the scarlet gowns. Thanks, Sakura-chan. She could feel the rumble of his laughter on her fingertips. She smiled lightly and stood back, taking in his appearance. Naruto looked handsome. His hair was slightly tamed, maybe she should say it at least looked clean, and his black tuxedo was cut to perfection. Nay, Sakura-chan, do you want to dance? A blush came to the Uzumaki's cheeks, and Sakura could feel a pleasant chill run down her spine as his eyes met with hers. Do you even know how, Baka? Despite her words, she walked past him with a confidence that surprised not only her, but the Uzumaki as well. Maybe it was something in those cobalt blue eyes that made the kunoichi want to fulfill any desire that man had. She walked towards the center of the wooden dance platform that had been laid down the day before the reception. A light smile played on her lips even though she could feel her impatience building. Sakura knew she might have to drag him over soon if he didn't get a move on. She felt ridiculous standing alone on the dance floor while other couples swirled around to the smooth music. Naruto, I think she wants you to follow her. Kiba laughed, kicking the stupefied shinobi into action. Go. The man stumbled towards Sakura but caught himself. He stood awkwardly in front of her, and Sakura was certain he didn't know what to do next. The kunoichi laughed and inwardly rolled her eyes at his naivete. Rest your hands on my hips, she ordered. Naruto's eyes widened at her command, but he lifted his arms nonetheless and took her by her waist. The kunoichi lifted her arms to wrap her hands around his neck. This was the simplest of dances. There was no way she would try to explain anything more complex to her anxious teammate. All lead. She took a step to the right, and Naruto followed slowly, stepping on her toes ever so often. Sakura clenched her fists behind his neck, praying that she could keep her temper at bay, at least for one song. Her teammate was trying, and that was what counted, right? Sakura laughed lightly at his concentration. His blue eyes were focused intently upon their feet so as not to miss a step. Stop looking at your shoes, Baka. But I'll step on your feet again. Naruto was never one to give up on a challenge, no matter how difficult. It's fine. Besides, you're already stepping on my feet as it is. It can't get any worse. She saw the disappointed look in his eyes and was quick to mend her words. Just focus on my eyes and nothing else, okay? It will come naturally. Or so she hoped. Cautiously, Naruto lifted his gaze to her and smiled, and despite the pain in her trodden feet, Sakura smiled back. It was like a natural reaction to her whenever he would smile. Well, that is, unless she was in a hellfire mood. Which was often, considering this was Naruto she was talking about. The two moved about the floor, drawing closer to each other whenever the shinobi would falter in step. His hands were warm around the kunoichi's waist, and that chill of excitement ran up and down her spine in reaction to his touch. I didn't know they were a couple. Sakura's ears picked up on some of the dancers' conversation. They were most likely civilians. What ninja in their right mind would gossip with other trained ears around? Then again, they probably wanted their words to be heard. I thought she liked that Uchiha boy. Even though she could feel the anger in the pit of her stomach roar, she never showed it. She just focused more intensely upon her dance partner's eyes, ignoring the growing murmurs. She knew that if she could hear the words, so could Naruto, but the shinobi did as he was told. He focused on her eyes and nothing else. Sakura took a deep breath, and her mind cleared of its troublesome thoughts as the two made their way about the preset dance floor. Who cared what people were saying? She was enjoying herself, and that was all that mattered. Sakura's grip relaxed behind Naruto and even tugged on the shinobi's hair playfully, triggering a smile to release on his face. Nay, Sakura-chan, about what you said. I've said a lot of things, Naruto, but what specifically? You know, he lowered his voice so that even if one of their shinobi friends were listening, it would be a strain. About the mission, Sakura's stomach clenched in shock, and her hands tightened their grip once more. And, not now. Not when she felt so warm and happy in his arms. Her anger was even subsiding. That night, Naruto's face darkened in a deep red. Actually had a weird dream. A dream? Is that what he remembers? A weird dream, the kunoichi mumbled under her breath. Actually, not a dream, but it was more like, you and I were, Sakura-chan, I can't say it. You're gonna hit me if I do. No. And naturally she hit the distraught man on the back of his head. Just say it, damn it. Ow, ow, ow. Okay. Sakura-chan. We had. Naruto flinched. It should have been coming. That iron-like fist should have been connecting, at the very least, to his cheek if not his eye. But Sakura froze in mid-step and broke down crying. She dropped her arms down from their perch on the man's shoulders and drew them close to her chest. Nani. Naruto took the kunoichi by her shoulders, shaking her lightly. Nay. Sakura-chan. Sakura-chan, what's wrong? I didn't mean to. Naruto was beside himself. He didn't know what to do. An angry Sakura he could deal with, easy. But this one, a tear-filled Sakura had him feeling completely helpless. Sakura didn't know how to reply. It just seemed as if all of her bottled-up emotions shot out of her in multiple gasps and cries. Now that the not-so-oblivious teammate of hers knew about their time together, she had no choice but to tell him, wait. You knew. Sakura stopped crying instantly, and the anger that had subsided was back with vengeance. I tried to talk to you that morning after, but you just looked away from me. And the time after that, you ignored me. Sakura knew he was telling the truth, but she didn't care. She suffered all that time, thinking this idiot forgot they made love, but in reality, he remembered the whole damn thing. The kunoichi clenched her fist and raised it. Her blood had boiled over. Too. No baka. She brought her coiled arm up and connected her fist with his jaw. A pleasant crunch sounded as Naruto's body flew clear across the dance floor and landed on the grass with a thump. Sakura ran over lightning quick and dragged him up by his collar, shaking him. If you ever do that to me again, Arg. She dropped him and stormed off, her fury still flaming. Sakura slammed her apartment door closed, making the walls of her apartment shake dangerously. Almost immediately a hard pounding sounded on her door. What? The kunoichi screamed. Haruno. I told you time and time again not to slam your door. You'll be the ruin of this building, I know it. It was her superintendent, Shiro. He was absolutely intolerable. Shut up, old man. I'm in no mood to talk to you today. Sakura growled ferociously and pounded her feet around her living room. Let the old man try to evict her. He'd be bankrupt if it weren't for her rent. Besides, no one was home around this time anyway, who gave a crap? The kunoichi stomped over to her room and grabbed a pillow from her bed, placing it over her face. She took a deep breath, filling her lungs to maximum capacity, and let loose a satisfying scream that the pillow just couldn't muffle. Oh well, she tried to be quiet. Damn that idiot Naruto. All of this was stupid. Stupid. That baka. Naruto no baka. She screamed, throwing the pillow against her bed with a thump. Another knock sounded on her door once more, this time a softer but much more firm rap. Sakura rushed over to the door and snapped it open. What? Billboard brow, you better tell me why you scared half of the wedding guests with your crazy stunt. Sakura's temper flickered. He knew all along, pig. She clenched her fists and pounded it into the wall. He knew we did it. He thought that I was ignoring him because of it. She collapsed onto her knees, and in a breath her fury was extinguished. Her green eyes looked to her best friend, and a pathetic laugh escaped her. Ino was still in her wedding gown. What? Ino looked down and frowned. Well, I thought that you told him you were, and something happened. So I told Shika that I would be right back. Shouldn't you be off on your honeymoon by now? Please. Every night with me is a wedding night. She smirked devilishly and knelt down to eye level with Sakura. Are you okay now? I'm not furious at the moment if that's what you mean. Sakura was mad, yes, but no longer brimming with blind rage. Did you tell him how you feel? Ino stood and dragged the kunoichi into her apartment, closing the door behind them. Sakura shook her head and plopped down onto her couch while Ino remained standing. The furniture piece would probably ruin her expensive gown. Sakura, in our line of work it's dangerous not to tell someone how you feel about them. A sad look came about the bride and Sakura could tell the blonde was thinking about her new spouse. You don't know if you will see them the next day. Don't you think I know that, pig? Well, you aren't acting like it, Billboard. You love him, don't you? Sakura was still struggling with herself over her feelings for Naruto. A part of her wanted to love him so much that it nearly strangled her heart. But the other part screamed that it was wrong and this was Naruto. That stupid baka, Naruto, there was no way she could ever love him like that. No way she could imagine waking up to his golden, smiling face every day. Or dream of their children running carelessly around the house while the Uzumaki held her close, or think about his scent lingering on her skin after another passionate night. Well, now that he knows about you two sleeping together, you can tell him about that bun in the oven. Ino didn't need to say it, Sakura knew she had to, and there was no other way around it. She was going to need to get him alone and tell him that she was almost 2 months along. But for the sake of it all, Sakura was so scared. How would he respond to something like that? I will make this quick. The Godime's face was stern, as she usually was when sober, or drunk for that matter. Her eyes switched between the three men standing before her. Hitaki Kakashi has, for the past few months, been secretly investigating a group of rogue ninjas led by a man dubbed the Collector. The man, as his name suggests, collects people who have rare abilities such as the Sharingan, and without a doubt is interested in acquiring a Jinchuriki. However, I have no choice but to use the two of you right now. Sasuke can figure out how dangerous this man is using those eyes of his, Shikamaru can formulate the plan of attack, and Naruto will wipe him out quick as possible. You three have proven throughout your years as shinobi that you are indeed qualified. Tsunade's eyes shifted between them. And since there is no one else that I can trust with this mission. What about the Anbu? Shikamaru was unusually testy, but rightfully so. It hadn't even been 1 week since his vows were exchanged and already he was being dragged into a mission. All divisions of Anbu are preoccupied with the river country as of now. Since the fall of the Akatsuki, other dark organizations have been rising to take over the territory that those bastards previously occupied, and small wars have been sprouting all about the area. The country's leader asked for the entire ANBU's assistance, to which I strongly refused. I would not leave my village completely defenseless, but the daimyo of the fire country overruled me. Therefore, this mission goes to you three. The shinobi shifted uncomfortably at the thought of what was to happen. This could go in two different ways. It could be a simple retrieve and destroy mission, or it could very well end up costing their lives. Shikamaru, you will be staying here in Konoha, while Sasuke and Naruto will leave immediately to get Kakashi back. Sakura Haruno stood in the middle of her apartment floor stretching out her muscles. She had had one hell of a hospital shift last night, that, in fact, didn't end until 30 minutes ago. There was a complicated surgery that seemed like only the kunoichi was capable of doing. The entire operation lasted for 10 hours, and all Sakura wanted to do was knock out into sleep. But she had resolved that morning that she would tell Naruto she was pregnant. And even though Sakura had just gotten back from her graveyard shift at work, she knew that putting it off would only deteriorate her hard-built wall of confidence. She needed to tell him as soon as possible. The kunoichi straightened out and placed her hand flat onto her stomach. Today is the day. And she made her way out the door and onto the street, her feet carrying her towards the park where she and Naruto would practice on Fridays. She could usually find the orange-clad shinobi sparring with someone or training alone around this time. With every step, Sakura repeated her words like a mantra. She could see the park up ahead, There was no backing down now. Today is the day. Today is the day. Today is the day. Billboard brow. Today is the day. Today is the day. Today is the day. Hey. Billboard brow. Today is the Sakura. Ino stood in front of the kunoichi, blocking her path. Sakura looked up and frowned. Not right now, Ino. I need to talk to Naruto. Today is the day. Today is the day. Her mantra was losing power the longer she stood here talking with Ino. Well, it's a little late for that. He's gone. Today. What? Sakura's thoughts came to a screeching halt. He's what? Our deaf. Billboard. I said he's gone. That idiot and Sasuke left on a mission this morning. He came to your apartment, but apparently you were still at work. So he left this with me to give to you. Ino held out a small piece of paper and placed it into the kunoichi's hand. He said to read it but not get mad. Sakura looked down to the scrap of parchment and closed her hand over it. She couldn't believe it. Well, aren't you going to read it? Ino looked impatient. The pink-haired woman was surprised her friend hadn't read the note already. How long? How long what? Billboard brow. How long will he be gone? The anger within Sakura tore against her. She felt like beating something to a pulp and curling up into a ball to cry. That stupid Naruto. She was going to tell him. She was going to tell him. I don't know. Shikamaru only told me that it was a high-class mission. Apparently he's working as the intelligence. Ino was visibly torn for her friend once she realized what Sakura's intentions were. Sakura forced herself not to cry. She was a strong ninja, and it was absolutely normal for these things to happen. Yet, it seemed that no matter what Sakura did, there was always an opposing force thrashing back against her. Whenever she tried to talk to Naruto about anything related to their confusing relationship, something stood in their way. There were so many signs that they shouldn't be together. Sakura, before you drive yourself to the brink of an emotional breakdown, take a deep breath. Ino took hold of Sakura's shoulders and squeezed her gently. He obviously wanted to tell you something important. So read that damn note. Ino was right. As much as she wanted to hate him for leaving, he did try to come and see her. And just because he was on a mission, it didn't mean she wouldn't see him again. Naruto was one of the strongest ninja in Konoha, maybe even the Fire Country. Okay. She unfolded the crinkled paper and read the messy writing scratched onto the parchment. I will come back, Sakura-chan. Idiot. She smiled and folded the letter back up, tucking it into her pocket. Her thoughts of his return were assured. No matter where Naruto was, he would come back to her, and she could tell him everything. And maybe by then, no matter how soon it might be, she would have her feelings sorted out. Haruno-san. Yes, Kyo. Sakura was bent over a stack of paperwork writing as fast as she possibly could. She specifically told her interns to never interrupt, or otherwise she would force them into diaper duty, for the infants as well as the older patients. Not one of the greatest jobs to do in their facility, but an honorable one nonetheless. Godime-sama wants to see you immediately. The 15-year-old was one of Sakura's rather shy interns. She couldn't blame him for being worried about interrupting her. Apparently she had gained the same reputation for her temper as Tsunade Shiso had. The medic nin's shoulders dropped in defeat. She wouldn't be able to get the paper done in time after all. Okay. She tossed her pencil down and stood, straightening out her long white coat, a perfect cover-up for her now visibly growing stomach. She was at 3 months now. Haruno-san, what would you like me to do? The young man was nervous, that much was obvious. She was a tough sensei, but one of the best and most requested. Go and turn the beds over for rooms 301 through 350. That should keep you busy. And if they ask to have their muscles massaged, do so. She saw the boy's face pale, and the kunoichi inwardly rolled her eyes. Bring Ichiro with you. Sakura turned back around and made her way out of the hospital towards the Hokage's office. It took her only a few minutes to get there. Ah, Sakura, close the door behind you. Tsunade sat in her chair with a cup in her hand. Shiso, What's that? Even though Sakura knew very well what the Godime was drinking. Water. Now sit down and let your Shiso talk. Tsunade took a quick gulp of her drink and clanked it down onto her desk. Sakura took a seat and waited patiently. I'm sending you on an extended mission. Tsunade's eyes were completely bloodshot. Sakura inferred that she had been drinking for at least the past few hours. Whatever her teacher had to say, it bothered the Hokage. How long is extended? Until after you give birth to your child. She was blunt, mostly due to her intoxication. Maybe that was another reason the woman drank so much, to help her deal with giving hard news. Sakura took a deep breath and exhaled slowly. Tsunade Shiso, with all due respect. This is not a mission you can refuse, Sakura. I am ordering you as your Hokage to go. A small crinkle formed between the older woman's brows. She wasn't mad. Quite the opposite. She was pained. This is for your own good. You are already showing, Sakura, and soon you won't be able to cover up with just a large coat. Shiso. The kunoichi stood up, her fists clenched. I cannot leave. You will listen to me. The indent in the Hokage's forehead deepened. I shouldn't even be doing this, the council will get angry, but screw them. You are my student. Hell with it. You are like my own daughter, which is why I won't stand for it when the village will begin to spread rumors about you and your child. Her normally light face turned red with frustration. Shiso. Sakura's voice grew hoarse and she felt the greatest urge to embrace her teacher. She knew that once her stomach would be too big to cover up, the gossiping village would indeed begin to wonder what kind of person the pink-haired woman was to be pregnant out of wedlock, especially with an unknown father, at least to them. Rumors would spread, and things would take a turn for the worse. Similar to that of Naruto's childhood, Sakura would become an outcast. The kunoichi's heart swelled with emotion. Once you come back, you can sort out your affairs with a certain shinobi and, oh, Sakura, don't cry. The Godime walked over to her student and placed her hand on her pink head. It's all right. I'll go. Sakura sniffed, blinking away her tears. I'll go. I need another drink. I thought you said it was water. Sakura laughed lightly as the Hokage took a deep drink of her sake. When Shizune's here, it is. Fine. Sakura stood in front of her desk, finally composed. Where am I going? Northern Gypsy Territory, where your last mission's charge is. Tsunade took another large gulp of her alcohol and exhaled a heavy breath. She actually called for a medic nin, so this is legit. They need protection from a few rowdy, low-level shinobi. They won't be a danger to you or your health, I wouldn't send you there otherwise. Anything else that I need to know? You'll leave tonight. They will come and get you. And before you say anything about going there yourself and that you're perfectly capable, I know. But that Tama requested if she could come and get you. Tsunade stood and handed Sakura a scroll of instructions and stats on her targets. She'll meet you at the gates. I'll send you a letter every week, okay? Sakura nodded and picked up her bag of supplies for her mission. She had told Ino what was happening, and her blonde friend was relieved. Ino had been worried about what the villagers were going to do to her if they found out about her being pregnant. The two women were standing at the gates waiting for Tama to come and pick her up. It was at least a 2-day journey to the gypsy village, and Sakura felt queasy thinking about the ride on the wagon. She might just tell her friend that she would prefer to walk alongside her. At least if Naruto comes back before you do, I can send his sorry UP there. Ino smiled lightly, trying to distract the kunoichi from the tension that hung in the air. They knew that when Sakura came back, she would be carrying her baby with her. Haruno, your wagon's here. She heard the guard call to her, and sure enough, there was Tama waving warmly towards the two kunoichi. Sakura waved back and turned to Ino. You'll send letters, right? She felt like a 7-year-old leaving for summer camp. It wasn't as if she hadn't been on such extended missions before, but it was usually with another familiar person from Konoha, like Sasuke, Naruto, or even Hinata. But this was something completely different. Every week, billboard, Ino repeated. Okay. Well, bye, pig. See you soon, billboard brow. Ino stressed her words, reminding that the kunoichi would be back. Sakura smiled and walked towards the wagon. It's good to see you again, Sakura. Tama smiled, holding out her hand to aid the woman with her knapsack. The pink-haired woman declined and sat herself onto the wagon. Her stomach had settled. Well, this ride should be quick because we're not carrying anything. The gypsy jumped onto the driver's seat and took hold of the reins. Ryu is my fastest horse. We will reach my village in no time, Sakura. Then you can catch me up on your adventures. Hinata had her twins, two healthy boys. One has Hinata's violet hair, and the other has Kiba's wild brown. Both of them have the Hyuga eyes. They're kinda cute for being the spawn of a dog fanatic and an introvert. No doubt those kids will have their own canine familiars soon. How are you coming along, billboard brow? 4 months already. From your medical description, you wrote that you're the size of an ox. I highly doubt that. Try to control your moods, Sakura. You're already crazy as it is. They haven't returned yet. It's been 2 months since they left, and one for you. Shika still hasn't told me anything, but I know he'll crack sooner or later. It's fun interrogating him. I just hope that those two will get here and that you can come back. It has to be boring there. You already took out those pathetic low-level ninjas, right? What are you doing now? Collecting herbs for the medicine man there while they dance around the fire? Or are you telling people their fortunes? Kami knows you could probably do with a real shower. And before you even think it, yes, I'm bored. Shikamaru left a few hours ago to report to the Hokage. He should be back by evening, then I can restart my interrogation. But for now, I guess I'll go train with Choji today. Don't want to be in poor shape by the time you get back. Write to me soon. Pregnant or not, I have no problem dragging your butt back here if I don't hear from you. Oh, and happy birthday, billboard brow. 20 years and you're still not as hot as I am. What a shame. Ino, it's great to hear from you again. I almost thought that you forgot about me, considering it's been almost 3 weeks since your last letter. I know you're busy with the flower shop and Shikamaru, but your letters are the only thing keeping me sane. And if I hear one more crack about controlling my wild pregnancy moods, I will make sure to place a curse on the next letter I send you. One that even your Shika can't break. This small village here isn't horrible, but I miss the village and the hospital, the sterile smell of cleaning products, the patient's complaints, and even the paperwork. I'm driving myself crazy here. I train every day. Low impact, of course, as I'm coming along, in the nearby fields. I'm eating all the right foods except for the occasional bizarre cravings. I won't go into detail, and I'm taking my prenatal vitamins. Tama has become my OBGYN, or should I say midwife. She's been delivering babies in this village almost all of her life. She gives me a weekly checkup, and we exchange tips on our professions. And as much as you joke, pig, they do have some amazing herbs and flowers here. Some that even your shop doesn't carry. There is this one rare herb called adficio that, once consumed, drains the person of nearly all their chakra, and another called perpetro that Tama uses on prematurely born babies. It helps develop their body to a normal state when given the proper dose. It's amazing. They don't even need an incubator with all of these herbs they carry. Their facility is perfect. I'll stop now before I bore you with any more medical details, pig. Nothing about the mission. They haven't even returned. I could strangle those two. What kind of mission could be taking them this long? Shikamaru said it was a high-class mission, so maybe, an A-class escort for a politician. No, then why have Shikamaru for something that could be done by one shinobi? It has to be something where they would need his planning expertise and those two working together in the field. Well, I should get going. I'll write to you later. Oh, and thanks for the flowers. My birthday was so much better when I got them. Sakura, I guess you're too busy to write your best friend a letter. Well, pig, everything is just fantastic here. I'm swelling up like choji after an all-you-can-eat hour at Ichiraku, my feet are killing me, and I want to punch every stupid man that I see for having the gall to make women go through this stupid pain. Why haven't you answered my letters? Have you found out anything about those idiots? Or are you too busy rolling around with Shika? May I remind you that I'm bigger than an ox now? And yes, from your last letter, which was 2 months ago, it is a damned medical expression. If I say it is, then it is. Okay, maybe I'm a little bit on the edge, but I have every right to be. Pig, what is going on? Why haven't you answered my letters? Please write to me soon. Sakura, Ino, I know in my last letter I was going ballistic, but I had reason. I haven't heard from you in a while. Is everything all right? Send out a letter as soon as you get this, okay, Pig. Sakura, Ino, what's going on? I've written you at least 20 letters with absolutely no reply. If I don't get a response from you in the next couple of days, mission, or not, I'm coming back. Pig, I swear to Kami if you don't reply, I might, just write back, okay. Sakura. Sakura sat down on the edge of her small hut and rubbed her aching feet. It had been 4 months since she left Konoha on an assigned mission, and over 2 months since Ino sent her a letter. The pink-haired woman must have written every day to her blonde-haired friend in hopes that she would get at least one reply. But nothing had come. No word on Hinata and her boys, nothing on Ino and her newlywed man, and most definitely zilch on Sasuke and Naruto. The only good thing about being here in this village, no nightmares. She hadn't had one single nightmare since she came here. But it wasn't as if she rested easy. Sakura had spent countless nights tossing and turning in her bed, her mind plagued with thoughts of the orange-clad shinobi. Her feelings were still contorted, but she knew that the second she saw him, her mind would finally stop being so irritatingly hesitant. She knew she was physically attracted to him. What woman wouldn't want a well-toned ninja by their side? But there was always that infuriating line that she seemed to be straddling, the one of friendship and love. But the moment Ino's letters had become non-existent, Sakura had to put her heart on the back burner. Something was going on with that blonde kunoichi, and it was only 2 days ago that Sakura had resolved to throw this ridiculous mission out of the window. She was going back to Konoha to see what the hell was going on. Sakura Ne-chan. A small boy of 8 came running to her and wrapped his thin arms around her legs. Ne-chan. Ah, Daisuke. Sakura's green eyes softened slightly. What's wrong? When Sakura had first come to Tama's small home, the little boy had become smitten with her. Her older friend had explained that he had lost his older sister to the rogue ninja a few months back, and the kunoichi's eyes looked similar to the deceased girl's. It took only a day to wipe out those scumbags. Tsunade wasn't kidding when she said they were low level. A genin-level shinobi could have slaughtered them. A letter just came for you. The little boy held up a small scroll that wasn't the usual size of Ino's letters, and Sakura felt her stomach drop. She took the letter and quickly unrolled it to read immediately. Sakura. Stay there. I'm coming. Ino. Sakura stared down at the quickly written note, completely dumbfounded. She was coming here. What could have happened? The kunoichi's mind raced. Letters took 2 days to reach them. Ino might very well be here before nightfall if she left right after sending the letter. Sakura walked out of the small hut that had become her temporary home in the gypsy village. The community was small, roughly the size of the Konoha hospital. They lived in their wagons and smaller-sized huts like the one Sakura resided in. The village was minute but by no means poor. They chose to live this type of life because that was the way of their culture. Who knew how much money they made every week off of their exotic herbs, spices, and flowers? Ne-chan, are you okay? Daisuke asked. Sakura's eyes scanned the area, passing over the wagons, the hyperactive children, and the gardens filled with fruits, vegetables, herbs, and flowers. No, Ino. The southern forest was the most direct way here from Konoha, so she could meet her blonde friend there. Daisuke, I need to go take a walk. But promise me that we can play some shogi later. Yeah, okay. I'll see you then. She had to run fast. There was absolutely no time to waste. Ino didn't want anyone to know what she was really doing. She told Shikamaru that she would be going to stay the weekend at Hinata's to help her with the twins, and thankfully Hinata agreed to go along with the lie. The blonde Kunoichi just prayed to Kami that no one really questioned the poor woman. She had a hard time lying to her friends, but at least Ino knew Hinata would try her best. Only 2 more miles. She carried little, knowing that this mission required nothing but her person. But despite the lack of weapons this required, this was to be the most difficult mission the Kunoichi had ever done. Ino inhaled deeply, refusing to let her emotions get the better of her. She saw the green clearing up ahead and focused her pale blue eyes on her target. Ino knew that she would be waiting for her. Sakura wasn't stupid. She only wished that what she had to do didn't end up destroying their friendship. Or Sakura. Sakura stood at the edge of the South Forest, her ears and eyes opened wide. She could sense Ino was closing in, less than a mile away. Her heart clenched at the thought of finally seeing a familiar face. One that she hadn't seen in ages. Sakura looked down at herself, a sense of self-consciousness overcoming her. She wore her green amulet necklace given by Tama and a large white dress that did nothing to hide her blooming womb. She was 7 months along now, and it was becoming all too real to Sakura that there was a child in her. Even though Tama explained that she could tell whether it was a boy or a girl, Sakura decided that she didn't want to know until the birth. She would hope that Naruto would arrive in Konoha before she delivered and she could tell him that they were expecting. Then they could find out about their child together. She had planned it out so many times that it seemed like a memory instead of her imagination. Sakura would finally know how she felt about him. In just a couple of months, a baby would be born and no matter the outcome, that child would have a loving family. It would work out somehow. Billboard brow. Ino broke through the last part of the forest, and the Kunoichi's heart leapt. Sakura smiled as all of her anger, embarrassment, fear, worries, and those ridiculous emotions were thrown aside. She ran to her best friend and latched her arms around her. Ino pig, it's so good to see you. Sakura said. Ino took a few steps back and her eyes widened. Kami, Sakura, you were right. You are the size of an ox, maybe even bigger. Watch it, Nara. Sakura spat, her not so easily tamed anger flickered within her. I have no problem kicking you're in this state. Yeah, Ino said. Sakura rested her hands on her stomach, and Actio. The collector. Sakura said. Apparently they're after this guy who has a growing group of rogue ninjas. Kakashi must have been kidnapped or something, and the Hokage sent those two in, using Shikamaru as an intelligence agent. But what about the Anbu? I don't know, the Hokage must have had some reason to assign those three this mission. Ino folded the paper and put it aside. Kakashi-sensei's name is on that. Were they supposed to get him back? Is he still alive? Sakura took the folded paper and scanned it once more for any other clues. He's alive. Sasuke brought him back a few weeks ago. Ino's voice lowered to barely above a whisper. He was in bad shape, but he's in stable condition now. Tsunade-sama's watching over him herself. Sakura sighed in relief for a brief moment before she caught on to the entire sentence, then her eyes widened in surprise. Sasuke came back. Her mind raced at the thought of finally being able to go back home. Then Naruto's back. She stood up and ran over to her desk and grabbed her knapsack, throwing her things into it. She could go home. She would finally tell Naruto how she truly felt about him and that he was going to become a father. Her heart felt like it was snowballing in an overload of emotions. Oh, Kami, it felt so good to just think about seeing that stupid Naruto. Sakura could barely contain herself. Images of that idiot saying Sakura-chan, smiling that toothy grin, and even eating ramen made her heart skip. Maybe, just maybe she really did, in fact, love him. Sakura smiled to herself as she reached into her pocket to hold onto the note he left for her before leaving. Naruto no baka. Her heart fluttered at the thought of going back to Konoha and seeing him in all of his golden glory. Ino, we should get going before they leave again. They still have to take out that collector, right? Oh, I'll kill Naruto if he leaves before I get there. Sakura clenched her fist around the strap to her bag. She had to calm down. First things first. She needed to tell Tama that she was going back, say goodbye to Daisuke, and apologize for not making good about the shogi game promise. But she could come back later to play with Sakura. Ino's voice was a rough whisper, and the kunoichi immediately turned around. The blonde was near tears. Sakura walked over to Ino and placed a hand onto her shoulder. Ino, what's wrong? Sakura's happiness faltered slightly, but somehow even Ino's tears couldn't sway her joy. Why are you crying? I get to go home, pig. This is good news. Or have you come to hate me again? The kunoichi ed an eyebrow and waited for any sort of smirk to appear. But her blonde friend's face only contorted in more sadness. Suddenly Sakura's river of happiness started to dry out. Naruto's, Ino's eyes began to water. Sasuke. Sakura shook her head. What are you going on about, Ino pig? Sakura. You can't come back. Ino swallowed deeply and clenched her fists. It will. What? Sakura took a step back, her anger flaring. What do you mean I can't come back, pig? She tightened her hold on her bag, her knuckles turning even paler than Ino's face. Naruto. What about him? Sakura wanted to punch out every single tooth her friend held in that fat mouth of hers. How dare she say that she couldn't come home? After all those months of being alone in this unfamiliar place waiting to give birth to that idiot's child. How dare she? He's dead, Sakura. Every muscle in Sakura's body went numb. It felt as if someone had ripped her lungs out from her throat and threw them to the ground beneath her. Wha. Her words were haphazardly spoken and her mind just couldn't compute anything correctly. What just happened? What did she just say? What? Sasuke came back with Kakashi alone. He said Naruto was killed by him, the collector. Ino's words were shaky, but they packed such a powerful blow. Sakura felt her chest tighten and her face twist in agony. Her breath shot out of her in painful gasps and cries. No. She grabbed her bag and threw it across the room and straight through the wall, a loud crack vibrating in her ears. No. The tightening in her chest spread down into her abdomen, and she clenched her fists. You're lying. Her vision of the future came crashing down around her in one horrible moment. This couldn't be happening. Naruto would never be so reckless as to get himself killed. He would never. I will come back, Sakura-chan. Liar. Sakura clenched her fist and hammered it through a nearby table like it was a twig. It shattered into splinters, dust coating every surface around the two women. The pain in her body was growing, and Sakura could only think it was because of that stupid idiot. Damn him. Damn him, that baka. Sakura. Ino stood up, the tears in her eyes all too truthful. The pink-haired woman turned away, clutching at her stomach, the pain growing more and more. It hurt so much, what was going on? But it seemed to be that her mind just refused to acknowledge anything, not unless she was to wake up and find that this was some horrible nightmare. Sakura latched onto the nearest chair, her tears mixing with sweat. Naruto, she called out in a painful breath. Her muscles tensed up, and a shock shot through her body. The kunoichi's knees buckled, and she fell to the ground as the pain in her abdomen became too much for her to hold. Sakura. Ino rushed to her friend, grabbing onto her before the pink-haired woman could fall face first, stomach first. What was wrong with Sakura? Ino felt a cool liquid pooling beneath them and looked down to see a clear fluid pouring from her friend. Ino held onto the shaking woman and brushed her pink locks away from her sweaty face. No, this can't. Oh, Cammy, please help. Somebody help. Her breath shot out of her in quick rasps, panic taking control. Somebody, please. Sakura. Someone rushed in through the door, a woman a few years older than Ino. She had dark hair and dark eyes, she was that woman from before. She must be Tama. Please help. She's gone into labor. The gypsy's eyes widened, and she rushed over, crooking her arms under Sakura's arms and lifted her up. Get her legs. We need to get her to my place immediately. Ino snapped out of her panic and immediately followed orders, taking hold of her friend's legs and hoisting her up. The two women rushed out of the hut, and Ino followed Tama down the dirt path through the small village and towards a larger-sized cabin. The villagers around them jumped up in surprise and began bustling about them, shouting out in an unfamiliar language. The two women rushed through the doors of the small cabin and entered into what seemed to be a small medical hut. Let's put her onto the table, quickly. She's losing consciousness. Tama and Ino brought Sakura over to the large metal table and placed the woman down gently but swiftly. Ino looked around, not knowing what to do. She felt absolutely helpless. Those years of her sensei teaching her basic medical knowledge flew out of the window. Get that pitcher of water. I need you to keep her temperature down. Tama grabbed an array of jars and bottles from a counter and placed them next to Sakura. Ino grabbed the dark pitcher filled with water and rushed over to her friend. Sakura, Sakura, can you hear me? Tama took hold of Sakura's shoulders and lightly shook her. Sakura, I need you to stay with me. You've gone into labor, and in order to make sure your baby can live through this, I need you to keep your eyes open. Naruto, Sakura said. Ino's heart almost broke into a million pieces. This was her fault, but what choice did she have? She needed to pull herself together, if not for herself, then at least for Sakura. Sakura, if you don't stay with me, the baby that you and Naruto made won't have a chance. Ino clutched Sakura's hand and squeezed it tightly. Please, you need to stay awake. Ino grabbed a towel and poured water from the pitcher directly onto the cloth and began to wipe Sakura's sweaty face. Okay, Sakura, this is what we've been talking about the past few months, Tama said. Ino looked up to see her garbed in an apron and face mask, bustling about the room mixing the herbs and powders from the jars. Naruto no baka. The woman wailed, squeezing Ino's hand painfully. Ino, I'll kill him. I'll kill him. She was in hysterics, but she was at the very least awake. Good. Keep her going. I don't care if she's lucid, so long as she isn't unconscious. Tama walked over to stand in front of Sakura, her eyes in complete focus. Tama. A woman rushed in and began speaking with a quick, foreign tongue. Tama spoke back in the same language, her voice firm and commanding. The other woman nodded and bustled about the same jars that Tama was messing with before. What are those? Ino nodded towards the containers. Herbs my people use to help with the delivery and the baby. This child is 2 months early and will need to consume the perpetro root mixed with the leaves of the vigoratus plant. Tama paused, struggling with herself. That's if Sakura makes it through this. Tama pulled on Sakura's clothing and propped her legs up, checking her status. So the baby will be fine. Sakura's hoarse voice croaked from below, and Ino felt her sweaty hand tighten its grip. Yes. Just follow my orders, okay, Sakura-chan. You're already completely dilated. The baby is on its way. The baby. Yes, Sakura, your baby. Now when I give you the word, I want you to push as hard as you can, alright? I don't know if I can. Come on, billboard brow, Ino cried, I know you can do this. Ino wiped the sweat from her friend's face and wrapped her arm around her shoulders. Do this for the baby. He needs a mom. Ino's mind was so boggled right now with the rush of everything around her. Her best friend was giving birth, and if she didn't pull through this, Ino didn't know if she could ever get over it. Okay, Sakura. Tama leaned towards the lower half of the kunoichi's body, her eyes concentrating. Push. Ah. Sakura was in the worst pain of her life. It felt as if she was trying to push a watermelon through her canal. Her thoughts were so distorted that she was amazed she could speak. But despite her blurred mind, she knew that if she didn't follow Tama's orders, she would lose her baby. Naruto's baby. Naruto. No. She couldn't think about it. She needed to shut down that area of her mind right now and close that part of her heart. Focus on the baby. She needed to just focus on the baby. Push. Push. The pain. I hate this. Damn him. Sakura's fury raged, mixing with her pain and loneliness. Push. 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 I can see the head. You're doing great, Sakura-chan. I need a couple more big pushes. Tama said. Sakura took huge gulps of air and tightened her hold on Ino's hand. Ow. Billboard brow. Ino cried, but Sakura ignored her. Ino's grip was the only thing latching her to physical reality. The blonde would have to deal with it. Push. One more big one, Sakura-chan. Your baby's almost out. A deep cry emitted from her throat as Sakura gave her all into the last push, knowing that her strength was at its limit. She could only pray that the baby would be okay. She dropped her head down against Ino's arm and closed her eyes. Her body was so tired. Sakura. She heard Tama's voice cry out. Billboard brow. Don't you dare leave me, you hear? The voices were fading fast, and there was a light behind her eyes growing brighter and brighter. Her body felt numb, and her thoughts were dulling down. The pain that she felt in her heart and in her body trickled away more and more the closer she moved towards that bright and warm light. Is this what it felt like to die? To leave all her loved ones behind as she stepped beyond the physical realm? But what about? Then there was a crisp, clear cry that broke through. She snapped her eyes open to find Tama holding a purplish-blue crying mass in her hands. Sakura. Sakura felt Ino wrap her arms around her. I thought I lost you. Sakura coughed in reaction to her hold, but had no strength to push the blonde away. Bring me the potion, Tama said to the other gypsy. Sakura blinked her heavyweight eyelids and watched the two take her baby to clean up, tying the umbilical cord, washing the baby, and force-feeding a dark green liquid. That must be the plant concoction. Then Sakura watched her gypsy friend press her hands upon the baby's stomach, and her palms lit up in a white light. What the hell are you doing? Ino spoke the words before Sakura could get to them. I am speeding up the process of the potion. So what are you, some kind of magical medicine woman in this village? I suppose you could say that. My potion making is the only thing I truly excel at. I can speed up the process of the potions I concoct, but I guess any medic nin could do that. Is the baby going to be okay? Sakura asked. Her voice was barely above a whisper. She was so tired, it seemed as if she had been running for hours on end. Tama took a blanket from her helper and wrapped the baby up. Well, so long as your child drinks the root and leaf mixture every day for the next 2 weeks, everything should be just fine. I'll help the development along. It would normally take 2 months, but this is a special case. Special case? Ino asked. The baby seems to have an extremely high level of chakra, beyond anything I've ever encountered. I just want to stabilize the body as fast as possible so that it can contain the energy. High levels of chakra. Sakura remembered Tsunade's warnings from before about the Kyuubi, but the Kunoichi knew that there was absolutely no trace of his energy within her. This might be just a fluke of innate power. Tama turned around and walked toward Sakura. You need to drink some of the Vigoratus too, so that your body can recover quickly. Now, would you like to meet your son? The cries from the baby were loud and piercing, but it was the most beautiful sound to Sakura's ears. Oh, Sakura looked to Ino, her eyes tearing up. I have a son. Her lip trembled as she weakly held her arms out to hold her baby for the first time. Tama placed the tiny boy into her arms, and the loud cries died down as he looked at the new person. The moment Sakura's eyes connected with this little one, she fell in love. Her maelstrom of emotions calmed suddenly as every fiber of her being focused upon this tiny little boy resting in her weary arms. She could barely see it through his scrunched-up eyes, but the irises were indeed the purest green, and on the top of his head was a tiny tuft of blonde locks, sticking out in every which way. His skin was reddish, as was for most newborns, but she knew from the look of it that it would never be as pale as hers. It was the perfect combination of Sakura and Naruto, at least for the Kunoichi. She smiled down at the baby, and he smiled a wide gummy grin before falling asleep in her arms. It made the woman's heart swell. He was extremely small, as expected from being in her womb for only 7 months, but it didn't matter. This was her child that she and Naruto had brought into the world. And this was the closest she would ever be to Naruto again. Sakura knew with every fiber of her being that no one would ever sever this tie that just formed between them. Ever. So what are you going to name him? Ino smiled happily, her eyes watering as she watched Sakura and her son. Toru. The name left Sakura's lips faster than she thought of it. Somehow, the name just seemed to fit the little one. Toru. Ino rolled her eyes and smiled. I thought you would at least go with something a little prettier, like Yuki or Kei. Of course Ino would want some kind of flourished pretty boy name. Sakura could just picture Ino's kids becoming the Ninja Academy princes with their own fan clubs, she growled, and her eyes darkened. Are you making fun of my child's name? Not even an hour old, and he was being picked on. Not with a mom like you. I don't think anyone would have the balls to pick on a child of yours. Sakura looked down towards the newly named boy, and she held back her tears. Uzumaki Toru. Welcome to the world. He would grow up without his father, but that didn't mean Sakura wouldn't tell him every day about the man that made her heart race with just one smile, about Konoha's greatest shinobi to have ever lived. It hurt Sakura to just think about that orange-clad idiot, but it was worth it for the one she held so tightly. All right, I think the two of you need your sleep. You have a lot of recovering to do. Tama smiled and took hold of Toru, placing him into a small padded crib. It's going to take a couple of weeks for him to gather the strength of a regular newborn. And you're going to be in the same condition, I'm afraid, Sakura-chan. You'll be sleeping here most of the time. I'll stay with you. Ino gripped Sakura's hand tightly. No, pig, Sakura said, I know very well that you probably lied to Shika about where you were going. So you better go back before he finds out about where you actually went. The kunoichi knew that she was right. Ino was sneaky, but not enough to where she could fool her genius of a husband for too long. He would catch on to her plan. But, Ino looked torn as her eyes strayed between her best friend and the newborn Toru. It's all right, pig. Just as long as you keep sending me letters. I'll be perfectly fine. Sakura didn't know if her words were all that true, but she hoped that they held some merit. It would be only too comforting to have her friend beside her, but it would also be dangerous to let Shika find out about Ino's knowledge of the mission. I'm visiting again in a week, do you hear me? The blonde said. That would be too soon, pig. Besides, I'll come back in a month. Ino's eyes widened once she realized that Sakura actually could come back. She had finished her mission, and there was no reason for her to stay anymore. Oh, okay. Ino looked from Toru to Sakura and sighed. You know, he looks exactly like him. The only thing of yours he has is those eyes. Sakura smiled. I know. Ino played lightly with the small tuft of hair on Toru's head and laughed lightly. You're lucky, Toru. You got away scot-free with that regular forehead of yours. Pig. I know, I know. Go to sleep, billboard brow. I'll be gone by the time you wake up. Ino embraced her in a tight hug. And I'll be waiting for you. Sakura nodded, her weariness overcoming her. She smiled to Ino and nodded to Tama before sleep overcame her. Sakura was crouched in a cold and dark room, her kunai in hand. He was in front of her, she could sense it. But there was no way in hell he would get his filthy hands on. Sakura-chan. The kunoichi's heart leapt as Naruto's voice echoed throughout the room. She flicked her head in all directions, trying to ascertain which direction it came from, but it was useless. But, he was alive. He was alive. So the man hadn't killed him. Suddenly a light shone down in front of Sakura and illuminated a short, portly figure with dark, beady eyes and a sickening grin. And in the man's clutches was a certain bloodied shinobi. Sakura jumped to her feet and released the kunai in her hand. The man chuckled and stepped aside as if the weapon were moving at half speed. The kunoichi growled and circled around the man. Her gaze focused on Naruto to see a glazed look in his eyes. What happened to him? Let him go, you. Such a beautiful woman with such a dirty mouth. Why don't you try asking me nicely? Quote. Go. Her words were spoken through her clenched teeth. Her temper began to snap. Or so help me. Tisk, tisk, my cherry blossom. You've been naughty. Looks like I have to teach you a lesson. The man's pupils widened, blacking out his sclera completely. Suddenly Sakura felt her muscles weaken and her body drain of any power she held. She collapsed onto the ground, struggling to find the strength to breathe. What was he doing to her? Yummy, she heard that disgusting voice say. She looked to Naruto and found his eyes becoming more lucid. He struggled in the man's grasp as soon as he saw the kunoichi on the floor. Sakura-chan. Sakura-chan. Naruto called out to her, but she was too drained to respond. Get the child. He should be a sufficient meal for me. No. Sakura inwardly screamed. Not Toru. No. Take me. And kill the Jinchuriki. No. Sakura's eyes snapped open as she woke up in an all too familiar sheen of sweat. Her nightmares had come back with a vengeance. This time, she knew who the villain was, the collector. Sakura's heart pounded relentlessly, not with fear, but fury. She had never felt so much anger in all 20 years of life. Her green eyes darted towards the window of the large medical cabin and she sighed. It was early morning. How long had she been asleep? It could have been hours, maybe days. She turned her head and found that close to her side lay her slumbering baby. He looked much healthier than the last time she held him. The potion must be working, along with Tama's magic. Little Toru's chakra was indeed strong. She could feel it pulsing from his tiny body in huge waves. She would have to protect him. She was the only one he had in this world, and there was no way in hell anyone was going to get their filthy hands on him. Sakura didn't know how much truth her dreams held, but she wasn't going to ignore them. Whoever this collector was, he was going pay. Sakura just might take a page from the book of Sasuke, and enact her revenge. She would have to act stealthily. And she would need all of Tama's help. No matter how much her body ached, she was a shinobi and pain was nothing new to her. Sakura sat up and looked around the room and found Tama resting in a chair not too far from the mother and child. The kunoichi stretched her tense muscles and slowly forced her body to stand. Tama, she said, Tama, wake up. Sakura winced as her sore muscles stretched out. She took a few steps towards the gypsy and shook her awake. Tama, wake up. I need your help. The older woman groaned sleepily. Sakura-chan. She opened her eyes and blinked several times. Sakura took in gulps of air, her breathing labored. Tama, I need you to heal me with your potion as much as possible. The same with Toru. That was apparently the magical phrase to wake a gypsy up. Tama snapped up in her chair, her eyes wide. What's wrong? Sakura-chan, what is it? I'm going to take Toru to Konoha. But I'll be back, don't worry. Right now, I need you to heal both of us as much as you can. What are you trying to do? Tama stood up and looked into Sakura's lucid green eyes. The kunoichi was dead serious. I can't tell you, but please do as I say. This is important to me. Sakura, Tama said, I can't give you your complete strength back in just a matter of minutes. Tama handed Sakura a glass of a light green potion, and she gulped it down. Instantly her muscles relaxed and her body was filled with energy. Give us as much as you can. We only have until the afternoon. I don't have any time to waste. Sakura walked over to Toru and picked him up for the second time in her life. Just speed the process up and then give Toru however much potion he needs. An indent formed between Tama's concentrated eyes. You'll need to drink your part of the tonic twice a day. Toru needs to drink his every 4 hours. Understand? Perfect. The pink-haired woman smiled gratefully and nodded in response. Tama sighed and began to grab the needed supplies for the two. She collected several large bottles of the liquids and placed them into bags. Hopefully Sakura could find the strength to carry them back. Sakura-chan, Tama said as she continued to pack, when I was asleep, I dreamed about that blonde boy, Naruto, was it? Sakura held onto the still sleeping Toru and forced her mind not to delve too deep into thoughts about Naruto, but she nodded numbly. She looked to Tama to see the woman's eyes locked onto her. You are in love with him, no? Sakura's heart skipped and she bit her lower lip, trying furiously not to cry. She would turn her tears into fury. Tears into fury. She didn't answer Tama, but the gypsy continued on. He loves you. Loved me. He knows you are worried about him. Knew. Whatever you are doing, do it quickly. He needs your help. Stop it, Sakura said. He is going to die if you do not hurry. Stop it. He's already dead. Sakura's voice stirred Toru awake, and the baby began to cry. Sakura rubbed her hand soothingly across his back and began to sway back and forth. Her temper was flaring dangerously. Tama handed Sakura a bottle of the dark green potion made for the boy, and the kunoichi snatched it from the woman's hand. I do not know what you have heard, Sakura-chan, but he is alive. And he will need your help. Otherwise his future will shift into the dark. I thought your expertise was in potions, not fortune-telling, the kunoichi said. Sakura turned around, not willing to look at Tama. How could she play with her like this? Toru was the only thing keeping her temper at bay and preventing the woman from killing the gypsy. She took a deep breath and fed the baby. The boy slowly stopped crying and looked up to Sakura, his emerald eyes as wide as saucers as he drank. He could sense something was wrong. It is normal for my people to see the future. Our dreams show us the many paths that we may choose. Then why are you seeing my future? Because it involves my death. Sakura's hand froze in motion on Toru's back. What? In a matter of days, a ninja group will come looking for me. Tama's eyes glazed over, and her face darkened. They will take me to their camp, and my life will end there. I have seen Naruto's path of life cross mine at that point. And yours crosses with his. Sakura pulled the bottle away from her child and began to put Toru down, but the baby started to fuss. Sakura picked him up once more and placed her hand against his back, rubbing soothing circles about his soft skin. Naruto was alive, but Tama was going to die. What the hell was going on? I know you're confused right now, but this is important. You can't die. I must in order for your family to live. Why? Naruto is dead, and if it weren't for Toru I would be as well. Sakura knew deep within her that if it weren't for the child in her arms she would have stopped living the moment she heard about Naruto. She would not have found any more reason to deal with this stupid world. Sakura, you need to believe me. Just do as you were planning, and you will see. Now, we must hurry. I have until the afternoon, correct? Knock, knock, knock. Ino stirred in her slumber. She had only gone to sleep a few hours ago. She had kept Shika up all night, and it was totally worth it. Now there was some stupid thing interrupting her precious beauty sleep. Knock, knock, knock. Ino, can you get that? Shika mumbled from beneath the covers. He liked to sleep with the blankets covering him from head to toe, so as to block out any troublesome noises and lights. Why do I have to? Ino grabbed her pillow and covered her head. She was exhausted from their hours of too troublesome. Ino growled and kicked him from under the sheets. You owe me for this. Tomorrow night. Handcuffs. No safe word. The blonde could hear her husband mumble in agreement. He would pay. Knock, knock, knock. I'm coming. I'm coming. You stupid bastards, disturb my sleep. I'll kill you. Ino stomped to the door clad in only her black lingerie, but who cared? It wasn't like she was insecure about her body like most women in this city. She knew she looked good. What is it? Ino opened the door and screamed. Shish. Sakura rushed into the apartment past her and whirled around. Is Shikamaru asleep? Sakura. You're here. I thought you were coming in a month. Why are you here in middle of the night? And, Ino stopped mid-sentence the second she saw the bundle strapped to Sakura's chest. Only a tuft of blonde hair was sticking out from her bundle, but Ino knew that her son Toru was slumbering in that blanket. What's going on? Billboard brow. I need you to watch over Toru, Sakura said. What? It was way too early in the morning to comprehend something this complicated. Ino rubbed the back of her head and her eyes. You want me to what? Ino could feel her brain slowly slipping into reality, contemplating what the pink-haired woman just said. I need you to take care of Toru. I'm going after Naruto. That was the moment Ino's mind came to a screeching halt. Go after Naruto. She was walking on eggshells now. Sakura. He's alive. I know it. Tama had a dream about it, and she saw him. She knows he's alive. And I believe her. I think I'm going to go to the collector's hideout. Sakura walked over to Ino's couch and placed Toru down onto the cushioned furniture.